But I mean, the Prime Minister was very clear, I will bring Albania into the EU by 2030. It's on a big poster on my street. Is this something the EU supports? I mean, was there ever a conversation like, oh, you can't really promise that? Because at the end of the day, the decision doesn't rest with the Prime Minister, does it? It rests with the member states, and there's a big, long process to get there. How does the EU feel about a candidate country running on a ticket that promises so much?
Look, I think we were asked by a journalist to comment this at the very beginning. Like, I think the question was like, do you agree that if you vote socialist, Albania will join, and if you vote something else, Albania will not join? And we said, look, this is a national objective, precisely because, as you said, 90% of the population is in favor of joining the EU. Give me a politician that runs an electoral campaign saying, no, we don't want to join.
Yeah,
it's a bit of political suicide.
This is interesting here. Most other countries in Europe have Eurosceptic parties.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist here, as far as
thank
I'm aware.
God.
So, thank God.
So let's make sure that it continues this way. And we also said in our reply to the journalist, therefore this cross-party, support for this. And basically, we will work with any government coming out of these elections. But I think it's legitimate to say, okay, for me, the priority is the EU. I will do all the reforms that are needed to be accession ready. Then it's true that the final decision rests with member states.
Yes.
But this is a merit-based process. There might be hiccups on the way, but it's a merit-based process based on an assessment of the reforms that a country has done and the way in which it has implemented them, the track record, so to speak. So I think the ball now is on Albania's side. I think we've demonstrated in Brussels our willingness to even accelerate the process quite considerably, to use this momentum. But at the end of the day, when you have to close chapters, we have to see
the legwork.
Real stuff. Yeah.
Now, I think if I'd been asked in 2023 as Albania in 2022, if it's possible Albania joins by 2030, I would have said absolutely no chance. Not because of Albania, but because of the feelings in Brussels, the political will maybe among member states. But things have changed a lot with what's happened with Russia, mainly, and Ukraine. There's been a distinct shift in the language used. The EU, the European Commission, is very much pro this goal, from what I understand. Do you think it's feasible? And you talk about merit-based, but I think political will plays a big part here as well from the EU side. If Albania shows the will,
absolutely,
it can just be pushed through.
But there's a lot of countries that see the merit of Albania and other countries joining the EU for the geostrategic reasons that you outlined. Because they also, open new market opportunities. So it's also not just political, it's also economic. But I definitely agree with you that in this process, we have to work on both sides. And Commissioner Marta Kos said it very clearly when she came here, and she's really committed to working on that, in the sense that we need to also make European citizens, EU citizens, I beg your pardon, EU citizens aware of what Albania is today.
Yes.
Because Albania 5 years ago is different from the Albania of today. So there needs to be a pedagogical process that allows people to understand, also how the accession process is transforming this country.
I think as well, I mean, I'm not going to name names. I think there are countries in the EU now that wouldn't pass the criteria to join. And I think there are some that joined who were not ready. So for me, I think the same grace should be given to Albania. I don't think you can expect a country to tick every single box, but it has to be a mixture of meeting criteria, being in, almost there with some others, and having genuine political will and potential to meet the rest. That's why I hope that by 2030 we would join.
Look, I mean, I don't discuss dates, but what I can say is that the Commission is committed to supporting Albania's efforts towards concluding the negotiations in 27. And then, there's negotiations of the Treaty of Accession, there's the ratification process. So that takes some time. So definitely the willingness is there. And I see also amongst member states that there is a lot of support for this.
Yes.
And there might be transitionary period and stuff like that for certain policy areas, because some of them, to implement the reforms that are required, this is very onerous financially as well.
Yeah.
So that's something that can be envisaged. But I can also say that there is little appetite at the moment to accept, a country that joins the EU without having fulfilled the fundamentals.
Yes,
and the fundamentals are really key to all this.